Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and on Tuesday nights, we come into Tim Rathbone's virtual living room, and we just chat about some subject we came up with during this week or the week before. And today, we're going to talk about dreams. So, unfortunately, Megan, a lot of times, will have a good suggestion, and I don't know if she talked about meaningful dreams or not as a suggestion, but we're going to give it a shot. I wanted to read something that I was looking up if I could find it. So there's a famous Zhuangzi's butterfly dream. Is a philosophical paradox that explores the subjective nature of reality and the limitations of human perception. It's not about a literal man or butterfly. It's about the uncertainty of whether we're living in a dream or if our dream is real. That's where he says he dreamed that he was a butterfly. When he awoke, he wondered if he had been a man dreaming of a butterfly or if he was now a butterfly dreaming of being a man. And so, reality, I remember a comedian saying, reality, what a concept, because a concept is not supposed to be reality. So he was sort of mixing metaphors in a way. But dreams, we all are in some sort of dream state very often, right? When I was in school, I was in a dream state a lot of the times. I was daydreaming about stuff. I'd look out the window. I wanted to be everywhere but the schoolroom. And sometimes it was the only way I could, make it through the day. And sometimes I got in trouble for it. But anyhow, Tim, do you have a story about a meaningful dream that you had in your past?
Yes, it was very meaningful, extremely meaningful. I'm in the tabernacle. It's a conference. The top of the tabernacle opens up, and here's Jesus coming down between the organ, between the tall pipes of the organ, and everybody's running away. The GAs and everybody running down and getting out as fast as they can. I'm turning around, and the voice says, "Why are you turning away?" I don't know. And I turned around and I looked. And then I became the guy in the sky.
You became a sky daddy?
I became Jesus, I guess. I became the sky daddy. And I was looking down.
There you go.
So
you felt really powerful.
Really, yes. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Were you dating at the time?
I don't remember.
No, that was just sort of a joke. But
I wrote it down. I don't have my journal anymore, but it's one of the.
So you're pretty sure you wrote it in your journal?
Oh, I know I did. Oh, yeah, because I woke right up and I had a journal by my bed and I picked it up.
Now, as a Mormon, you were just dreaming about the future.
Yep.
You were projecting, I have been put on this earth to become a god, and your dream was to help you feel what it would be like to be.
But that's not the only dream I've had like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll let Randy take his turn at a dream.
Oh, absolutely. When I was 13 years old, I had my first come to life dream, a dream that happened. And I've had them not frequently, but every couple of years I'll have one. But my dad was out of town, and that has nothing to do with it. But while I was sleeping, I dreamt that, and now, by the way, this was way before bungee jumping was a thing. but I dreamt that there was this tribe of people that would climb a tower, and when they'd get to the top, they would jump off the tower, and I thought that they were going to splat and die because it was a very tall tower. And right before they hit the ground, a vine or a rope or something was tied to their ankle and stopped them. They were so close, though, that the dust almost poofed when they got to the lowest point. And it made such an impression on me. I thought about it the whole day, that, these people jumping off, and it looked like they were going to die, and then they get caught at just the right moment and they're saved. So, that was the dream. What made it so special was it was that night that my mom and I were watching television, and there was a documentary on Channel 8, the public television station. And it was about this tribe of people that would climb up to the top of a tower that they had built, and they would leap off and soar towards the ground and stop right before they hit the ground. And that was their entry into manhood. They,
Oh,
they,
they were in like New Zealand or somewhere, or New Guinea, right?
yeah,
The pole
somewhere,
guys. Yeah.
yeah, they were dark-skinned people. And anyway, as I saw it happening, I said, "Oh my gosh!" Because fortunately, for some reason, I always tell people about these dreams. And I said to my mom, "Mom, that's my dream." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're right. That's exactly what you told me." And I had never seen anything like this before. And bungee jumping didn't exist, but that's the first time it happened. Then it started happening, oh, like I say, every year or two. So when I was on my mission, I had a dream. I went to Spain, by the way, and I was living in a town called La Coruña. And I dreamt that I was at a funeral with my companion, and the other missionaries were there. And I didn't know whose funeral it was, but we walked in and we we viewed the body and then went and sat in the little seat. It was just like in a small chapel. And we went and sat in the chair. And all of a sudden, during the service, this body starts like quivering and shaking and convulsing. And I mean, pretty soon, the casket tips over. He's out of the casket and he stands up, and everyone is running in terror. And it was just such a horrifying dream. I remembered every tiny little bit of it. So I told my companion in the morning, I said, "Oh, this dream, it just really affected me." Well, we came home to have some lunch at our apartment, and all of a sudden, two of the missionary companions run in, and they said, "Hey, Amapola's father just died." Amapola was a girl in the branch. Her father just died, and the funeral is now, because there they don't waste any time. They they put the body out on display. They get to the funeral. He said they're on their way to the catacombs, the graveyard right now. And so I didn't think anything about it until I my dog is barking at the cat. I didn't think anything about it until we got up to the graves, and Amapola was there and her sister, and they were weeping about their father passing away. And Amapola went off to talk to someone else. And then it dawns on me. I said, "Oh my gosh, I dreamt that I was at a funeral last night, but it was horrible. It was so scary." And I kind of, just relayed my dream to her. And she said, "What does the guy look like?" And I said, "Well, he had dark hair. And for a man, he had bangs. He had bangs. and he was tall, and he wore dark glasses, dark rimmed glasses. And I saw her go white, and she went over and got an announcement thing that they had made in a hurry. She brought it over to me. She said, "Is this him?" I said, "Holy crap, that's the man from my dream." Well, it was the man who passed away. And I had dreamt it. Now, he didn't come back to life and start wandering around, but
You should have used your priesthood, and it would have happened. That was
brought him back.
you missed out.
Yeah, his name was Lazarus,
Yeah,
No, but
it's a perfect setup.
but
God
it's
told
always
you exactly what was going to happen, but all you needed to do was use your priesthood, and you
right.
failed.
I blew it. Well, but the crazy thing is, something always happens that makes it spectacular. And it was this guy getting up and wobbling and walking, and so it stuck in my brain, and I know exactly what he looks like to this day.
Wow.
Now he wanders the streets of Spain looking for Randy. Why
Right.
didn't you command me to rise? I
didn't
lost
you
all
dream
this
of that?
time that I could have been doing something.
So yeah, I've had other dreams where that
Yeah.
occurred, and it's so crazy because it's like it's nothing that I was even thinking about. But anyway, yeah, that's one of the most impactful dreams.
Yeah. So for me, I used to have dreams, sort of nightmares. I guess Disney movies, I think maybe Pinocchio, doesn't he get eaten by a whale? Tim, what's the name of the whale in Pinocchio? Something
Nostromo?
like Orgasmo. No, I don't know.
What, Nostromo?
That's
Monstero, maybe, or something like that.
that's the X-rated version, the orgasmo part.
Orgasmo. Yeah. And so that's about the Mormon whale. But anyhow, so I would have these nightmares because we have a sort of a culvert, a creek in our backyard.
Monstro.
Monstro. That's right, Monstro. And so I thought maybe I would get swallowed by a sea creature that was a creek, is like this much water. But, I don't know, kids, right? And so I would have these nightmares, and I'd be afraid of monsters. I'd be afraid of situations, right? And maybe I had some other dreams where I was afraid of snakes or something. But at the time in the late 60s, there was a Diane Carroll starred in a
Julia.
sitcom called Julia.
I remember.
And for some reason, so I was dreaming about her, and I was in her apartment because I didn't know apartments. I've only lived in houses, but I was dreaming of apartments, and she screamed, and I went out onto the balcony, and there was a snake there. And so I was kind of having a lucid dream. Like I was afraid of the snake, but I had to do something, or else this woman would get, bitten, right? And maybe die. So I summed up as much power and courage as I possibly can. And I stomped on the snake, and it shriveled up and turned black, and I saved the day. And upon waking up from that, I don't remember having nightmares that much anymore, because I overcame my nightmare demons, we'll say, at that time. So that was sort of like meaningful to me, because even though I wasn't aware of how all those things would work together to sort of cure me of this situation, but it did help a lot. And so that was a meaningful dream for me.
And you saved Julia.
And I saved Julia.
Wow.
What was
Diane
her
Carroll.
name, Tim?
Pardon?
What was the name of the actress that played Julia? Do you
I
remember?
think Diane Carroll.
Carroll.
Oh, that's right. That's what we just said. Okay.
Yeah. And so I didn't know if I played her son in the dream or if I was myself. I don't know for sure. Maybe there was an episode where he had to be brave. I don't know what it was, but that's something. So that's one way that dreams can affect us, is we can be in a situation that would be just, help us change our lives a little bit. If I could say one more right around the same time. So someone says the church is true because of probably Randy's dream.
Okay.
But anyway, another thing that happened was we would go swimming. We were sort of like lower middle class in the way we dressed and behaved. But my dad made middle class money, and he would use some of the money to take us to Disneyland every other year. And he would use some of the money to buy property. And we had property in the Sierra Nevada foothills. And we were in the country club. And so we could go, and because of his membership, we could go play golf. We could do a bunch of things. But they also had a pool and a dining area. And then there was a lake to go swimming in. So in the pool, my brothers and I would dive at the bottom, and sometimes we'd see something shiny reflecting. We'd, find a dime or a nickel or a quarter or a penny or something like that. And that was like the very best thing. We found something more. A nickel could buy us a big hunk at the snack bar, right?
Yeah,
so if we found change,
Yeah.
it was an instant reward. Like we were rich, right? So this one time I was having a dream that I saw a lot of money at the bottom of a pool, like dollars and dollars and dollars worth of change. And I was scooping it up, and I was putting it in my little swimming suit, little purse that you can have, which is probably for like a locker room key or something, is probably what they were designed for.
Yeah.
And so I was stuffing that thing. It was just like just a big wad of coins was in there. And my dream was over, and it was so real. It was so real. When I woke up, I checked my whitey tidies, and there was nothing there. I couldn't believe it. Where did all that money go? All the big hunks and Abba Zabbas and Three Musketeers bars. My mouth was watering as I was waking up because I was rich.
That's really scary, what you just said, because
Wow.
I had an experience when I was a kid. I used to go swimming at the junior high school, and at the end of the summer, they'd have this thing where all of the coins that were found in the pool were separated, and all the pennies and nickels got thrown in the shallow end, and all of the dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces, whatever, got thrown into the deep end. Everyone under 12, or I think it was under 10, everyone would have to get out of the pool, and they did this every summer. When the whistle would blow, everyone would jump in the pool that was the right age in the shallow end and gather as many of the pennies and nickels as they could. Then in the diving tank, the deep part of it, because we had a high dive, that's where they threw the more valuable silver stuff. And when they blew the whistle, everyone would jump in. I jumped in, and I always was able to hold my breath really long because I was a ventriloquist anyway. And I held my breath, and I started doing exactly what you said. I started loading up, and I'm shoving that little flat white netty pocket thing as full as I could. And I mean, I wasn't just finding dimes, I was finding 50-cent pieces and silver dollars, and I just cleaned up down there. And all of a sudden I see someone jumping in the water, and it's one of the lifeguards they had on duty, and he swims down to me and taps me on the shoulder and tells me to go up. And I did, and he got out of the pool, and my best friend was on the deck, and he says, "You okay, man?" I said, "Oh yeah, look what I got." And then I went to look in my little pocket, and there was one dime. And later in life, my son was a Navy SEAL, and he told me that he knew what had happened, that I had experienced. I can't remember what he calls it, oxygen deprivation, where when someone's underwater for a long time, their mind will start hallucinating because you're not getting oxygen. And that's all I can figure that happened. But what now, this is weird in and of itself, is that you just said my dream, Gene.
That's right.
So
I probably had it a week before you had your dream because
I know, right? Were you in junior high at the time?
No, I was probably like 4th grade, 5th grade.
So weird.
Wow.
I've never heard that story anywhere else. And then we're talking about dreams and you talk about
There
them.
you go. So I have added to the stage Kinder Kim. Kinder Kim, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So
Oh
do you
my
have a
God.
dream story?
I am so honored. Now, let me reflect for a minute here. I'm actually on stage with you.
Yeah.
I can't get my camera to work. I'm so sorry. My iPad is old. Yes.
We're
If,
excited to have you, Kinder.
oh gosh,
We're
thanks.
welcome. Welcome.
I have enjoyed your shows so much. I am just retired from teaching after 30 years, but I'll tell you, every single beginning of the school year, many teachers are afflicted with stress dreams. It just it's a stressful time. I mean, my regular stress dreams would be dreams of coming home from school and having to get the
Uh-oh.
We missed a little bit. Uh-oh. Kinder Kim, maybe back out and come back in or something because we're not hearing you now.
I know. I wanted to hear the stress dream.
Yeah. So somehow, Kinder Kim, I'm going to kick you off and then come back in. Sometimes that might work. So hopefully that works and we can hear the end of that. Culture's excited that Kinder Kim's here. So let's see. I'll kick the guest and try to come back on again. Summarize the dream again for me, Randy, while she's coming on.
Oh,
Stress dream. Her stress dream.
Her stress dream?
Yeah.
She didn't get a chance to.
She didn't get it, but she was talking about certain stressors.
Oh,
Right.
How about, anybody have the dream where you're caught outside, like on the way to school, and you realize you're not wearing pants?
You're naked.
Yeah, or you're
Forgot
naked
your
or something.
socks. Forgot a shirt. Forgot your socks. Oh, yeah.
or have you ever dreamt that you're taking your final exams and then you realize that you skipped class the whole semester
You
and
couldn't remember.
you had no idea of what anything was on the test?
Aha.
oh,
She's back.
I think I
Okay.
got kicked out, guys. I'm sorry.
Yes, somehow we couldn't hear you anymore. So sometimes coming back in helps. So
Okay.
tell us what the stress dream was.
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear any of that?
No,
No.
Oh God,
it
this
just
is
stopped.
traumatic.
You had us all like waiting. And the stress dream was, and then
couldn't-
Bated
silence.
breath.
All right. I can't find my children.
Oh.
I arrived to school. I'm always late. Something happened. I'm not appropriately dressed, if I'm dressed at all. And I can't find them anywhere. They've been picked up. They've been taken somewhere. I need to find them. I'm responsible for them. This is just a travesty. This is like the worst thing you could ever do as a teacher, you know. And in the dreams, I can never find them. And of course, in the dream, I'm at school. But in reality, when I think about, the placement of the dream, the setting, it's not school, it's some strange place. And
Like
it would
some
be
sort of
something
mysterious
weird,
field trip.
right? I mean, my usual stress dreams had to do with coming home and not having my chores done, and having to get the chores done before my mother got home because all hell would break loose. I don't know if I had said that before I got kicked out, but yeah, those are my usual stress dreams. But I
Yeah,
think
so
every teacher will tell you, that's your fear.
while you were
That's
gone, I
horrible.
mentioned having a stress dream of where I was on my way to school and wasn't wearing any pants or underwear or something.
Yes.
That's similar to your thing.
Well,
And you know what's weird is some of my stress dreams as I got older were like I was maybe 35 to 45, was I was trying out for the baseball team at the local college, and it was everything was in slow motion, and I wasn't able to get to where I was, get to the
Mm-hmm.
ball or swing at the pitch or something like that. So it was kind of a similar, but or if it was doing okay, the stress in a way was that it would just end, right? And so I didn't
Yeah.
make the team or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, you mentioned snakes, and I've had a phobia my whole life about snakes, and I can tell you snake stories. But
Do you live
my
in snake
fear,
country?
I live in the Mojave Desert, the Antelope Valley, it's Lancaster. It is near Edwards Air Force Base,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Oh, well.
UFOs.
yes, we have diamondback and western rattlesnake, and also the Mojave Green. Now, I have been very blessed and lucky in that my run-ins with them, I hike a lot, and there are trailheads near my house, within driving distance on the Pacific Crest Trail. And I've had occasions where I'll look down and see one sunning itself on the side of the trail, or I'll hear one. I generally try not to go, alone.
Do you carry a snake bite kit?
No, I try not to go alone, and I've been very blessed, and I try to, stay out of those situations.
That's
But
healthy.
Tim used to be one of the snakes in the bushes.
oh,
No.
Tim,
Tim, go ahead and tell
seriously.
us your snake story.
Oh, I was at,
Well,
you know
go
where
ahead.
Ironton is? Ironton is north of Mountain Meadows. And my friend and I stopped there to look at the ruins. And I was walking down the trail, and there was a rattler, and it was about 2 or 3 inches wide, and it was
Oh,
across the trail. And I just
Mm,
went, ah! And I turned around and I walked away.
yes,
I
I've
mean, I
done
knew it
that.
was safe because it wasn't going to do anything to me. It just wanted to travel, but it was like, yeah.
that's
I was going to tell
horrible.
you, eat the apple, Tim. Eat the apple.
I've
Don't.
also been hiking and had one strike
Oh
near me.
no. Oh
Yeah,
geez.
we walked, we were Boy Scouts, and this is up eh, here and, well, up Kern Canyon, way up there,
Yeah.
the Boy Scout camp. And we were walking, and it was between me and Dennis, my friend Dennis, I think. And I went, and then boom, it struck the rock between the two of us and back.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Oh geez. This is the stuff that makes me not fall asleep at night. you know. And I fear having a dream about snakes. I mean, I've had them where they're like all over the ground, and I'm trying to walk through them. Generally, though, in those dreams, they are rosy boas. And my son had a rosy boa for years, and she was quite docile, quite gentle, non-aggressive snake. And I was actually able to overcome a lot of fear by holding her. And I would bring her to school, and the kids would get to interact with her a little bit. But and then I read somewhere that snakes symbolize wisdom. So
That's right.
yeah.
Eve and the snake were the smart ones.
Yeah, that's right. He was a smart one.
So Kinder
Yeah.
Kim, does that mean you taught kindergarten?
I did. I did. I taught mostly kindergarten. I've taught TK, which is pre-K. Now it's
Right.
called TK. And I've taught first grade.
So you taught like 2 generations of kids just about.
Yes. In fact, I was blessed
More.
once. I actually got in my class the child of one of my students from one of my first years of teaching.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, and
Wow.
it was a somewhat rare name, so I knew that when I saw the child's name, Like, oh my goodness, it can't be. And
So it was
went through
Moriancumer Jr.
exactly. And I went through, I scrolled through the paperwork because it was on the desk in the office, and I saw the grandparents' names. Well, it turns out my student that I had years ago, Brittany, she had been in a car accident and had brain injury, which meant she really couldn't care for Riley, her little girl. So Riley was living with her great grandparents, actually. But it was really neat because when Brittany found out I had her daughter, she went on Facebook and said, "Oh my gosh, my kindergarten teacher is my daughter's kindergarten teacher." And she posted a picture of me when I was much younger
Oh,
and didn't have to camouflage my hair, But it
So
was
that
just the
student
sweetest thing.
that student was considered a grand student?
Yes. I was
wow.
I was also blessed one year to have my grandson. And
Oh,
because
Wow.
yeah, and it's somewhat frowned upon, but it was not a problem. In fact, the kids in the class didn't know until springtime that he was my grandson. And they were sitting at a table working, and I'm walking around the room, and one of my little boys is indignant. Miss Kim, Mason says you're his grandma. So I went walking over to the table and I said, he does. And I put my arms around Mason. He was sitting, and I kissed the top of his head. And I guess he is my grandson. But the kids never knew because at school he called me Miss Kim, and he was just obviously special to me, but it was such a blessing.
Yeah,
And
I'm
he's
not
a
sure I would have been able to do that for my grandma. Grandma would have slipped out here or there.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was, quite a unique experience. And so I was blessed with that. That was awesome.
And did you have kids come back to you after they've graduated from college
Oh gosh.
and say hi?
And they friend me on Facebook. And
Wow.
I will tell you, I've had some really, really cool experiences, with them posting something or commenting on something, being really kind. I had a little boy when I was teaching first grade. It's a high poverty school district. And he was a behavior problem, but I absolutely loved him. I just adored him. His name was Luis, and he had there was an incident where he was suspended from school for a couple of days. So he must have done something. I don't remember what he did, but if it was bad enough to be suspended, it had to be serious. And I walked out to where he was sitting in his mom's van, and I talked to him and told him, Luis, I basically gave him a little pep talk and said, I don't like what you did, but I love you, and you're going to have a couple days at home, and then when you come back, it's going to be fine. We're just going to have a great day. No worries. I'm going to miss you. I was just really positive with him. And, we finished our school year, and years have progressed. He now works, he's in his 30s, and he now works with autistic children. And he sent me a message that just about put me into sobs, talking about that incident and how I didn't make him feel less than, and how he always remembered what he learned, that it didn't matter what he did. And I've always said they won't always remember what you taught them, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have tons of stories, but
Our daughter was in kindergarten or first grade or something, and she, but she was at home. We were having dinner or something, and she let a very loud, audible gas go. And my wife said, "Krista, well, how dare you?" Or not how dare you, but something like,
yeah, Krista.
You're like, "Oh, you say you're sorry," and she goes, "Well, I don't have to. It's just natural. That's what my teacher says." Just a natural thing that happens.
Oh,
So
gosh.
then all the rest of my life I was saved.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Oh, that, you know what? All you have to do in kindergarten is drop something, or, yeah, drop something is the big thing. Or, anyone passing gas. That's like the funniest thing ever,
Especially when it's the teacher.
Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh. Here's the trick. Here's the trick. When you know you've got issues and you're so you start circling the classroom because you don't want to stay in one spot. And it's inevitable. You can't leave them. You can't duck out, and it's going to happen. So here's what you do. You circle the room. You're interacting with the kids. It happens. And then you get away from that space as fast as you can. And then when the kids start noticing, you got to put on that face and go, "Oh my gosh."
So you're talking about the silent but deadly ones.
Yeah. You just go, "Oh my gosh, which one of you?"
That's
Did
right.
everyone see Jeff Bezos do a face plant in front of his spaceship?
Yes. Yes.
Really? Did that happen?
Yes. Yes. Today or yesterday. Yeah.
There's Life's little embarrassing moments. Kendall's in the room.
That's right,
Hello,
Kendall.
good to
It's
see you.
Kendall's
Hi,
turn.
Kendall.
Kendall,
Can't see
you
me.
shaved or something.
Speaking of
You shaved-
Kendall, farts are always
I
funny.
did, yeah. I took off my beard because I'm having a custody battle issue, and all the courts
Oh,
in
geez.
Utah, you gotta show up for appearances.
Wear
Well,
your
aren't you
white
impressed
shirt.
that I noticed that?
Hi,
Wear your
Jan.
white shirt.
Not at all, huh?
Oh yeah, I wore my white shirt, my Captain Moroni tie. I'm glad I kept all my Mormon paraphernalia.
Yeah, there
you
you
guys
go.
want to see some of my Mormon paraphernalia?
Oh, of course.
Okay. First thing that I love still, I'm a Mormon. This annoys President Nelson. This is going to go out of print, I know, so I got to keep this so no one can gaslight me on this.
Mm-hmm.
I got my book is blue, of course. And then here's some things that I was gifted when I got married. I'm not going to comment on these. I'll just let you guys read the titles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, there we go. The Act of
geez.
Marriage.
Does that mean
And we were
when you're
not
married, you have to
ashamed.
pretend to be good? Is that what the
Yeah.
act of marriage means?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, so I was a seminary and institute teacher, and this was part of the manuals, Teach Ye Diligently by
Boyd
K.
K.
Packer.
Packer.
And this is where he says, do not give Satan equal time. In other words, don't teach true history, only teach the faith promoting parts of history.
Don't delve too deeply.
Yeah, Satan loves the truth more than Boyd K. Packer.
Oh, jeez.
Tiny book
Aw.
of Joseph Smith.
Well, that's precious.
It is. It really is.
Somehow your sound went off,
Uh-oh. Me?
Kendall.
No.
No, Kendall.
Oh. Well, you wouldn't have heard me.
Yeah, that's right. We wouldn't have heard you.
Jeez.
So
I
we're
don't know
talking
what
about dreams, but really there's ghosts in the studio.
Oh,
No
Kendall.
sound. No sound.
No sound.
So that happened to Kinder Kim. So I wonder
Mhm.
if there's something wrong with my studio. Maybe I have too many tabs open. Is 480 tabs too many?
Oh, geez.
That's a
It's like
few.
my school director had 200 and some tabs open. And she said, when we were teaching virtually, she said, don't say anything about my tabs. I know where everything is.
Well, while
let's-
Kinder is getting that figured out.
So
Nope,
Kendall, I'm going
Kinder.
to kick you out, or you go out and come back in, Kendall. See what happens.
Oh,
So-
I can't lip read.
So, Kinder Kim,
Yes, sir.
you were talking about stress dreams.
Yes.
And I had a very strict father. He used to He was very strict. Used to beat the heck out of me on a regular basis.
Oh,
And
God, Randy, I
I
remember you said something about that
oh,
recently.
did I? So I have this recurring dream that he leaves me in charge of feeding and watering the horses because I grew up on a horse ranch, a racehorse ranch. And in my dream, I forget all about it. And I don't realize it until they're on their way home.
Oh God,
And I realize that I haven't fed or watered them. And I go out and they're all dead.
classic,
Oh, I
classic stress dream.
hate that. I'm always so relieved when I find out was sleeping.
dreaming.
It was really scary.
Well, of course, because yes, because that fear is very real, and it's it's I think it becomes embedded as you because you're young when it happens, and then as you grow and develop and change, it's still there, that fear. Because here we are, what, in our 60s, 50s,
Right? Yeah.
and still have stress dreams about things like that. I haven't had any really the only profound dream I've ever had. Um, my father died in 2006, and it was sudden, and he shouldn't have died. He was only 68 years old, but he I kept people kept saying if you ask him to talk to you in a dream, he will. And I was so profoundly grief stricken. It was just one of the I think everybody sitting here in this room right now on stage has experienced the death of a parent. Um, so you know how brutal it can be, and it's not unique to me, but I was really really struggling and having a hard time with it. And one night I'm dreaming, and I'm back in the apartment we lived in when I was really little in Toluca Lake, which is a portion of Burbank, kind of by
Yep. Know where
Warner
that is.
Brothers. Yeah, and I'm standing in the doorway of my bedroom in that apartment that we hadn't lived in 60 years, and my father comes out of the bathroom, and in my typical dad fashion, he's wearing his tidy whities and he's adjusting himself when he comes out of the bathroom, and he looks down at me and he goes, "Kimberly, I can't leave." Just like
Whoa.
I can't leave.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
profound.
Wow.
And yeah, and it took me I was processing that for quite a while. And over the years I've just, shared that with a few people, and basically they're telling me, you were so upset that he didn't feel he could leave, go on to where he needed to go. And I don't know. Part of
What?
most of me, yeah, most of me wants to believe that was it. But wow, that was the most, profound thing. I'd
Yeah.
lived with my grandparents up until I was 5 years old, and my grandfather I was extremely close to him, and he was very special. He was an LA City firefighter, but he also was a woodworker, cabinet maker, because most firefighters, especially in those days, had a second job because you'd work a day, off a day, work a day, and then you'd have 4 days off. Anyway, so I've had dreams over the years where I'm somewhere, a house, a farm, or somewhere, and in the dream I know that he's in that building. Oh, Grumpy's in that building. He's in that barn. And I know he's there and he's working. And for some reason in the dream, I don't go see him. And I don't know what the psychology is behind that one.
That's right. We'll have to do a show. So Songs said hi to you. Did you see that?
Oh, I did. Hi, Songs of Our Own.
And Songs works in a classroom setting. I have worked in a classroom setting before, other than class
really?
clown even.
Oh, were you?
Has Tim or Randy ever worked as like a substitute teacher or anything?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
So Songs might join us.
Well, that would
Okay,
be
Kendall, you were trying to tell us something, but
Yeah, you were.
Satan.
And
Oh yeah, I was in the middle of going over my paraphernalia, but I don't know if you can see my white eyebrow there.
Oh
Mm.
dear.
But
You have a white eyebrow.
I was a teacher in inner city Philadelphia, and within 6 months, that went from normal color to that color, and has stayed that way ever since
Wow.
because of my teaching experience. So anyone who is a teacher has my undying and forever respect. I lasted 2 years, and then I had
Oh
to tap
gosh.
out, and I'm not going back. Maybe if it was like a private school where I had support from the parents or something, I would go back. But man, that destroyed
Wow.
Oh
me.
my gosh.
Oh,
So yeah,
Wow.
Trevor's in the chat, keeping us all entertained. I swear he needs to take his show on the road. Yeah, he wants to know if any of us have had an MLK dream.
I had a
No.
dream.
I
So
had a
is
dream.
that Martin Luther King dream?
Well, yes,
So I
Must
dreamed
be.
once I was Martin
that
Luther
one day.
King, or was I Martin Luther King dreaming I was me?
Mm, I have a dream that one day.
Yeah, the
And
dream of the lamb laying with the lion and stuff like that. That was always like, that would be really cool for the
Yeah.
lamb to lay with the lion. If it were ever going to be a thing,
Hmm.
and our society nowadays, it almost seems like we wish that could happen now.
yeah, we sure do.
Oh, absolutely. It's frightening right now. It's frightening, and I personally am trying not to think about it too much or pay too close attention to news stories because it just makes me so anxious. The unkindness, the hate, the
Yeah.
ignorance,
Right.
the whole
That's what
climate.
when Brother Smith came over for Thrive, that's what he said. He was so shocked how America's changed. He really noticed it.
I once had a creative dream. I dreamed about peach cookies, and it was like 1981 or two, and it could have been that famous Amos had his cookies. I don't remember, but it
Mm-hmm.
was just before any of the big mall cookie stores came out. Big, like there might have been onesie twosies, here and there, where people were selling cookies, because otherwise I don't know why I would have the dream. So I woke up. It was a Saturday morning, and I was about 20, and because I didn't go on a mission, God wanted me to make peach cookies, is what's happening. He said, Gene, that'll be your mission in life, is to make peach cookies. But so I only knew that they were going to be good. I didn't really know how to make them. So I asked my mom, what would I do to make peach cookies? And she said, well, look at the, Toll House chocolate chip cookie recipe and maybe substitute peaches somehow, right? And my dad used to buy, I had 4 brothers. So whenever my dad would buy fruit, we would get like a case of whatever it was, case of cherries, case of peaches. So we had a lot of peaches. So obviously my brain was saying something needs to be done with those peaches before they go bad, right? So my mind went to work. What should I do? How can I get the peach into the cookies? And my brain said, the peach can't just be cut up and put in, because it won't cook enough. It would go bad. It wouldn't be something you could sell very easily, right? So I thought up of having like a lemon jello, and made a certain thickness, and then cut up the peaches and put the jello and the peaches in the oven for a little while, and sort of like semi-dehydrated them, and then mixed them around a little bit so they separated, and then mixed them in with the batter, and they were great. But that's as far as I went. And
Scared of you.
I put one of the cookies in foil, thinking that in a week I'll work more on this. And then a month went by, and then a year went by, and
Oh,
my mom said, what are you going to do with this foil in the freezer? And I go, oh, I don't know. Oh yeah, that's one of my peach cookies. Let me taste it. And it was probably tasted like everything else in the freezer, but but it was one of those weird things where the dream just told me like the end result, and then I had to make the
Make it
product,
happen.
and it was good. And then not Little Debbie. What was the biggest? Mrs. Fields.
Mrs. Fields.
Oh yeah.
So then
She
when
was-
Mrs. Fields cookies came out like a year or two later and she was like a billionaire, I was like, darn it. And now I'm an old man.
Wasn't
'Cause
she
I was-
LDS?
What?
Wasn't she LDS? She was
Could have
at
been.
Salt Lake.
Well, she was
I
good.
think you're
cook.
right. And now what's the big LDS sugar plus sugar cookies?
Mm,
What are the crumbles?
yes.
Oh yeah, crumble cookies. Oh man, those are so addictive.
One
Yeah,
of the areas that I lived in Spain on my mission, our apartment was right above a lemon cookie factory.
Oh my!
Oh,
And there was never a time when it didn't smell like heaven. I know that manna was actually Captain Crunch, but the second form of manna was those lemon cookies because we'd go in and the lady was so sweet, the owner. She would always give us a big bag of her broken cookies that she couldn't package. And they were still warm out of the oven. And
Mm,
oh, it just makes your tongue want to slap your brains out. They were so good and so fresh.
I got an image of that.
I agree with
Oh my
Colch. Those pink sugar cookies from Maverick, that was like when I was a kid, that's what I wanted for my birthday was those cookies. They were so good.
The Maverick gas stations?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
Dang, I'm gonna have to.
I know
we
what you're
haven't
talking about.
Kendall, you never told us a dream.
I was just gonna say that. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I'm not much of a dreamer. I've only really dreamed consistently in my life twice. And both of them, it was like I was so miserable that I was always dreaming of like, when is the moment that I could have changed this? So it was lamenting past
Lucid.
decisions and going back and trying to change history. So I'd have dreams where I made a different decision about the thing I regretted because I'm a terrible ruminator. So whenever I make mistakes, I just go over and over and over it in my mind. And some things you can't change, but I would dream about I could go back into the past and make a different decision. So those are the only two times that I've dreamed is the biggest decision you can make in life, according to Mormonism. I made that mistake. That was terrible. The worst you can imagine. And then later on, when I was having existential dread with the church, I would go back and be like, when was a point where I could have figured it out earlier? And there was like points where I would relive parts of my mission where like an investigator or inactive member would say something and it would be like, this is your chance, Kendall, to escape. And I never would make the connection. And it was so frustrating. They were more like frustrating nightmare-ish dreams, but not nightmares, but like it would be self-torture. That's the only time that I remember my dreams. I know I dream other times. I just don't consistently remember them.
Yeah, not scary, but just mental anguish.
Oh yeah, I'm the worst at just going over and over again my bad things, and that's
Perseverating.
Tim, were you dreaming just a little bit ago, or did you have something to say?
What was that?
He was responding.
Yeah.
I was responding to Kendall.
Oh.
No, I'm looking for something.
Yeah, I actually need your guys' help because like I go to therapy and the best thing that they say to do reminds me again of the church. They're just giving me thought-stopping cliches, like how to distract myself, how to stop the thought. And like, I hate using that because that was used so much against me in the church. But I kind of am coming back around and now it's like, okay, maybe thought stopping has its use.
Songs just said she had dreams, or he had dreams like Randy's, where they were premonitions.
Well, I am looking for an email. Okay, back in 2017, I had a dream about a helicopter crash, and what just happened last week was my dream, and I'm trying to find the email I sent to my friend.
So you're saying you caused it?
No, I saw it, but it was back in 2017.
Oh, okay. You saw the
Wow.
future.
I saw a dream of a helicopter that the rotor blade came off.
Oh, wow.
And,
Right, that fell in the Hudson River.
well, I didn't know what river, but it was near a body of water, and it ended up in the water.
Oh gosh.
Well, you
And
are a prophet.
So,
yeah,
Kim,
so I'm trying to find the email I sent to my friend. It would have been around April or May of 17 is when I sent it.
Kim Songs has been a co-host with me.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you go to Ladder Daily Digest, and I don't know if you can type in songs, if it'll come up, or songs of our own, or that girl
Okay.
on the East Coast. That could be the name of the show.
Oh, okay.
Remember.
Yeah, I've obviously seen the name in chats with many of
Yeah,
our
the
podcasts, but
songs is awesome. If songs could come in and say hi and just give us a little dream thing, that would be really cool.
Okay,
yeah.
it was May 2nd, 2017. I sent it to Paul.
Wow.
So I'm actually going to put in this chat
Hmm.
the episode of songs, and so you'll be able
Okay.
to just click on it and just go watch that at your leisure.
What
Yeah.
do we think of Doctrine and Covenants section 138? Do we think that was a legit dream, or was he making it up, or where did that come from?
I think that was a real dream. I think he had a dream.
Oh.
Well, we can have daydreams that
What a day for a day.
we can dream of the future. In fact, my wife was saying, you guys could all talk about dreams that you had, like of a goal, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, look, Tim and me and Randy, we're all old. All of our dreams are like dreams that never materialized.
Oh,
No, I've always, my whole life, have dreamt about being on a podcast with you guys.
Oh man.
There you go.
there we
Dreams
go.
realized.
So, yeah.
Dreams realized.
Well, I've had lots of dreams that have happened. I mean, like when Trump attacked Syria, I was taking a nap and I saw all this fire and flame. And I woke up and I went out into the living room and they had the TV on and there's these missiles being launched. And I said, I just dreamed this.
I thought maybe you're just having gas.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm telling
So,
you, it's
Flamethrower.
prophetic again. I think I
Pardon?
told you guys about me dreaming that I ate world's largest marshmallow, and I woke up and my pillow was gone.
As your pillow was gone.
That's right.
Yeah.
We could have two Kims on at the same time if Kim D came on.
Ooh.
Yeah, Kim, I'm disappointed that your camera's not working because I see your name all the time, but I have
don't
no
know
idea
why.
what you look like.
I keep pressing the camera icon, but it keeps telling me that it's not connected and that I should restart it. Well, I'm afraid to do that because I'm going to tell you, I have a tech curse. It's bad. It started back, when we had transistor radios, and it just hasn't. I used to walk by electronic typewriters, and they'd move. Yeah,
Oh,
all by themselves.
you emit electricity then. You emit.
I don't know. I
No,
don't
that's
No,
know.
you
me,
do.
Tim.
You emit some kind of a frequency that makes things do that. I know other people have had the same thing. I know somebody couldn't wear watches because they would go haywire.
Oh my.
Well, my last name is Watts, so shouldn't that happen to me?
You should have been born with it.
No, teaching virtually for about a year we had to do that. That was a nightmare because everything had to be done electronically. And you want to talk about stress, hyperventilating, trying to get a program to work, trying to share my screen, trying to, with their kindergarten, it was a dang dog and pony show, trying to keep these kids engaged. So I
Yeah,
was always putting stuff on, dance stuff and, let's sing the alphabet and well, they were going to learn about planets, and I had to put on a bit, and I would just struggle so horribly.
We
We're
should
going to
do
watch a movie today, kids, about
Hmm.
the solar system. Here, click. You can go sit down and rest for a while. They're
Well,
watching it.
they were in their own houses.
right.
I know. I
I
know.
had to compete with bedrooms and stuffed animals and other children and d- dogs and cats, and it was quite the experience, I would say.
Are
Well,
you
like,
on a Mac by any chance,
Right
Kinder Kim?
now, right now, I am on my iPad, and it's about a 5-year-old iPad, and it never gives me any trouble. If I were on my laptop, I could have probably called in and the camera would work.
Do
But I'm
iPads do Chrome browsers?
no.
Well, it gives me a choice. It asks me, when I hit the link, it said you want to use Safari, Chrome, and something else. Um, I'm always afraid to pick Chrome because, okay, I
Good
spent
crash.
20 minutes trying to. I thought I had to download Chrome onto my laptop because I was having trouble with a lot of programs trying to accomplish simple tasks, and when I would call for help, I would be told, oh, it's a Safari thing. Oh, it's a Safari thing. So my laptop replaced my school laptop, and I had to change my email and just all of these things. And I tried to download Chrome so I could use Chrome instead, and it won't show up on my toolbar anywhere.
Well, I was
It,
asking because my MacBook, which is what I usually use for these, I tried to get on today and the camera wouldn't engage. And so I'm holding my iPhone. That's how I'm doing this.
okay, that's why
But
you're making us dizzy.
I'm just wondering, yeah, I'm just wondering why both of our cameras
I don't know.
wouldn't work.
I don't want to think it's personal, but
It's the ghost of Jeff. It's the ghost of what's his face?
yeah,
Steve.
yeah,
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Well, I guess I could troubleshoot it more. I hit the link thinking, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if they're going to let me on. And then boom. And I didn't want to jinx it by trying to change browsers. But one of my dear friends still works for the school. He's our IT guy. And I'm going to ask him for a little bit of help with that because he's come over to help me with things with, the printer that wouldn't work and all these little bugs and problems with tech. And, he just kind of chuckles at me. But he said, don't use Safari. Don't use Safari. Use Chrome. Well, great. I'd like to use Chrome. How do I make it do it?
So, Kim, when did you start watching podcasts? When did you
Oh,
start coming over to the dark side?
ooh. I'm gonna say I've started with Mormon Stories with John DeLynn show,
How long
and
ago was that?
kind of went down. I'm gonna say a year ago. Kind
You're
of
Oh
just
went down.
wow.
fresh.
Yes, went down that rabbit hole and thought, well, once I started watching that, other things would show up in my algorithm, and I could, discovered RFM and Bill Reel, and then Mormonish with Rebecca Biblioteca and Landon, which they had a great show today, by the way,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ganesh. He's going to
with
come on my
Ganesh.
show in a couple weeks when his book
Oh
comes out.
God! Oh my God!
Oh, is
And
Landon working on a book?
Ganesh,
Ganesh.
Oh, Ganesh,
yeah,
yes.
he's doing something similar to Dan Vogel, but his emphasis on Joseph Smith's story or biography is more theme based. He said, and so
Yeah.
yeah, so
It's
yeah,
sort of
so
like
I just started.
finding Joseph in the words of the Book of Mormon. Like everywhere is a fingerprint of what was happening with Joseph Smith's life.
At the time, yeah, and the influence of the Whitmers with the anti-Catholic
Right.
rhetoric, and just really, really interesting stuff. And so I just started watching more and more of them, and then I'd get in the chat, and these people are so darn fun.
The chat can be
Yeah.
very fun.
Yeah. And then just, yeah. And so now I look for the live stuff because I love
When-
watching the live shows. And
So when did you first watch Ladder Daily Digest? Do you remember what show?
you were talking about your story.
Oh,
Okay. And then I
so
went back
like
and watched
1 year ago.
I went back and watched one yesterday that wasn't it was with Maven.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then last week my heart was breaking watching Maven.
Sure.
She was here on your platform, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a bit she was being very detailed and going over this happened and then this happened and then this happened because that happened, and she was being very, very detailed. And it was getting a little bit long, and emotionally I had to step away.
Right.
But I understand what she's saying.
Right.
Um,
When Maven interviewed me, I was in Bangkok
oh wow.
when we did that. So if you see like a bunk bed behind me,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I started Ladder Daily Digest so that Maven could get more airtime.
I like the premise of your show, the fact that you're giving voice to other content creators and allowing them to expound a little bit on why they're doing what they're doing, what their plans are for doing more. Just those conversations are very rich. And then, the more I watch these things, I start seeing some of the same faces. Who can forget Tim and his wonderful stories? And then Kendall coming on, Culch. Okay, started watching Culch.
So the same thing happened with Tim. When I've known Tim on Facebook for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is.
Oh, wow.
And I found him. He was in the chat. He was making these comments that it's like, gee, he's either really smart and has been places, or he's really good at faking it. And so I still don't know what it is. But anyhow,
yeah. Speaking of going places, what are people's dreams as far as the one definition that Gene's wife said about goals? Like I want to go to 100 countries.
there you go. You're young. We'll let you talk about goals.
Yes. Well,
Okay,
Kendall's got to
let
get
me
over.
pull up my list of life goals. I call it my personal constitution, what I promised myself I would do.
So you've actually got a bucket list.
Yep.
I have a bucket list, but it doesn't start with B. It starts with
So while
another
Kendall's
letter.
doing that, Gene, right behind you on that beautiful mantle, is that a saw?
Oh, yeah.
You see a saw?
So
Okay,
yes,
I
he
see a
sees
saw.
So
I've seen a saw.
a guy in our ward that actually died serving an adult mission for the church. He was in Georgia, Russia's Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he was about, like 58. He had retired early from like PG&E or something. And he and his wife had already been on a mission, and they just loved it. They were in Africa, and they decided to go on another mission, and they were in, what's the other side of India where the big mountains are? Nepal.
Nepal.
But they could only be in Nepal for 6 months. So they also got to go to like Indonesia or something and they were photographers or something like that. So they couldn't proselyte. But anyway, so then they went to Georgia, and he ate something and it didn't sit well with him, and it kind of messed up his insides and it got an ulcer that exploded or something. I don't know.
Geez.
And they flew him to Germany, and they couldn't save his life. And so just like Disneyland, Georgia must be like that, because they had to fly him out of Georgia into Germany before he could die. But he painted this before he left
Oh,
on
wow.
his mission because he was retired and he decided to take up painting. I don't know if I can go bigger and see. People can appreciate it a little bit more.
It's got a unique handle.
Oh, that's very cool.
Wow.
It reminds me my great uncle, Uncle Bob. He built
Oh, that
he built a house. He built a house for my great aunt himself. He worked for as a lineman for AT&T, the old AT&T, and on the weekends he built this house. And his son, my cousin, he has a saw similar to that in a shadow box where he preserved the saw that his father used because back then he used hand tools to build a house. It just amazes me.
So I
But it
think
looks like that.
my wife always wanted to paint, and now that she's has a second Saturday each weekend, she's decided to
Oh, what?
do
That's
some
beautiful.
watercoloring.
That's beautiful.
And since I tried some of those psilocybin type mushrooms, when she painted this, I said, "Can I have a painting?" Because she'd given them to like 50 people already.
Uh-huh.
And but isn't that a cute little
It's beautiful. I love the details. Oh my goodness. The
super
colors.
super detailed? So I think she might have been a little bit inspired by the saw.
I love that the snail is celebrating pride.
Yes.
Yep, there's that too.
That's
Michelle
beautiful.
is talented.
That is beautiful. Did Kendall find his list?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
posted it.
We can only see you, Gene.
That's my iPad broke, and you're going to have to just see me the rest of the time.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
you know why? It's because I'm on and I have the tech curse. And I'm now spreading the
Kendall, are you trying to share it?
Yeah. Do you want me to pull it up like that?
So can you present her on your screen?
Yeah. Let me just get
it a
the
tab?
URL back.
Or is it written in crayon?
No, I've got it here. Okay,
in crayon, right?
Let me do present. Let me see if I can get the right screen.
Yeah, all the dreams I ever had, I wrote in crayon in first grade.
Window or screen. Let's see. Oh man, I've got so many things open as well. Let's see. Preliminary. Life list. Oh, I saw it. Then I scrolled past it. There it is. Okay, can we see that?
So you have to click on. Okay, here it comes.
Oh wow.
Dang, scared of you.
So yeah, I wrote like a mission statement, and then I organized my goals. I wrote this when I was active, by the way. So there's still some spiritual goals in here.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
But yeah, become an Eagle Scout, teach a college course. I worked for Lloyd Newell, so I substitute taught his college course a few times. He taught Intro to Mormonism. He taught Teachings of the Living Prophets, and he taught a communication class. That was
Who was Lloyd Newell?
Lloyd Newell was the voice of the Tabernacle Choir for like 25 years.
Oh, after what's his face got caught committing adultery.
Correctamundo.
Okay.
This is the 121st Annual General Conference. That guy. Let's see. Be a published author. I've been published at least 4 times. I think that's more now. I think it's up to 6 because I got published 4 times as an undergrad for the church. In fact, I have them right here. Oh wait, you can't see my face, but I've got my published Book of Mormon studies articles right here. Okay,
Wow.
yeah. Let me show you. So I wrote this one. I got another article in here and another one in here. So the Journal of Book of Mormon Studies, I did a series of articles about how the harrowing of hell was similar to Joseph Smith's teaching about the spirit world. So they published me multiple times. because of course they're gonna publish anything that says, "Oh yeah, we got this connection to all this old knowledge, and Joseph Smith was right." So anyway,
You're like a RFM junior, except for the lawyer part.
well, I actually clerked for a federal judge for a few years. I didn't get my law degree, so I was a live-in clerk. But yeah, I love the law. I'm doing pro se my court case right now, so maybe in a little sense. So yeah, let's see what other things. Write at least 5 books, run a half marathon, do 100 push-ups in a row. I was very proud of that one, actually.
Wow.
Have my own website. I have 2 websites. Assemble a comprehensive family tree. I don't even care about that one anymore.
Oh, yes, you should. Family trees are fun.
Yeah? Okay, maybe you can help me. I have low desire for that. That was definitely a guilt goal. I was like, oh, the church
Well,
said it's important.
has
so
your family done it?
Who?
Has your family done it?
Someone in my family may have, but I've never gotten it.
Huh. Should ask. Family trees are fun.
Okay.
I think if you
hike
go
a
on
mountain.
to
I've hiked Mount Timpanogos and Mount Sinai when I did BYU Jerusalem.
Wow.
Jeez.
Make a transcendent change in the world, be interviewed for a TV program. I think something like this would count, especially when I've been on like other programs.
Mm-hmm.
Invent something, create something that did not exist before every year. That's easy to do with every podcast that never existed before. So these next ones, I grew up very socially anxious. So be in a play, write a play. I actually did write 2 apps. I have 2 apps on the Google App Store. I will not tell you what they're called though. Have over 1,000 followers, do a stand-up comedy routine. Oh my gosh, I forgot I did that. Yes, I've done stand-up comedy.
You did it?
I did it. I actually did it twice. I did it for a steak talent show, and I did it for when I was in Teach for America. They had a talent night, and I did a whole routine about how hard life was for teachers, and it was actually hilarious. People loved it.
Oh, I like the
learn 3 languages. I've learned 2. Be familiar with the works of Shakespeare. Actually, because of RFM, I've read tons more Shakespeare. I don't know when I can check that off, though, because I can't, like, quote it on demand.
Well, what have you read?
Wants to know if you've been in a play.
I have not ever acted in a play. I haven't found the right opportunity yet. And I definitely need someone to do it with me. I will not do it on my own. I'm way too socially anxious for that.
Wow. I love the fact that you have those authors down that you want to read. I'm a voracious reader.
That is so ambitious.
Oh my gosh!
I had one goal in life, and that was
everyone
to
has
not
to read
write
at
my
least
goals
some
down.
Karl Popper. Karl Popper is the deepest thinker that like will change the way that you sift facts and perception.
Karl
It's a must.
Popper.
Karl Popper, yeah. I founded a club, the Heroes of History, so I was inspired to learn about people from history. I've actually learned more about Helen Keller. I could probably cross that off. Winston Churchill, I could cross that off. I did not know the controversies about Winston Churchill until recently. Neither Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was quite the scamp. Gain a basic understanding of economics, European history, statistics, teaching, pedagogy, debate, communication. Yeah, I think I've done almost all of that. I don't know about this one. Expert status in interpersonal communication and relationships. I've written and researched a ton about that, but I don't know if you can get expert status by just reading a lot of books and giving a lot of presentations, but maybe.
You're supposed to have 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
actually, you're only at about 8,000.
Oh,
yeah, I'm definitely over 5,000 easily.
Malcolm Gladwell. 10,000 hours.
Let's see. Get my finances in order, earn a bachelor's degree, earn multiple advanced degrees, earn an honorary degree, learn formal debate, learn formal logic. I got a 170 on the LSAT. That I was proud of that.
Ooh.
I've actually taken 3 classes about music and art appreciation, and I'm more learned, but I still am not like one of those people that can just go on and on about the nuance of art and music. I still, when I do my travels and I go to these museums, I still feel like a neophyte going through the museums, alas.
I did 5 years of a 2-year college, and then I got married, and so I thought my bachelor degree was totally off the table now that I was married.
Oh, interesting.
Another one of my jokes.
The girls I've dated have actually encouraged me to get a PhD. So relationships have actually helped me in my educational goals. Become up to date on technologies. Oh, this is a weird one. Be someone worth remembering. Actually, several people remember me, even though, yeah, I think I'm kind of worth remembering. Be a lifelong advocate for at least 3 causes. Oh, I definitely know my third cause. My third cause would be to free people from the shackles of limiting beliefs and cults. That would be my third thing that I would add to this list of 3. Start a nonprofit. Stand up for what I believe in. Keep in touch with friends. Actually, that's a super important goal of mine. And like, it sounds weird, but like, I have a list of friends and I text them occasionally if it's been too long. And just those tiny check-ins have turned like relationships that are like, you know, acquaintances that it's like, oh, hey, good to see you, to like really lifelong close friends. I really think that's important. Read all the holy books of the world. I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran, I've read the Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada, the Tao Te Ching, and the Analects. Any other ones I should add to that list?
Tom Sawyer.
That's a holy book to you, Gene?
The Urantia book.
The what one?
The Urantia book.
Urantia, what religion is that?
I don't know, but it's its own, I think.
It's like a new scripture.
Well, I got this list from the World's Religion class at BYU that was taught by, what's his name? Chadwick. Does anyone know who I'm talking about?
Chadwick.
I forget his full name, but he's the guy that is famous, not famous, but like in the Exmo community, like he's an apologist for the church. But there's a video you can find. It's on I forget what channel. It's a newer channel, but he's an Exmo channel, and he actually admits, he interviews archaeologists, and he admits like no one uses the Book of Mormon to use their archaeology with, and he does the same thing with the Bible, and he can find tons of archaeologists that are inspired, or not inspired, but actually use the Bible to find digs and stuff like that. So he kind of tacitly admits like there's nothing to the Book of Mormon, guys.
Wow.
Right.
Serve a mission. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to do this now. Know the bio for every person in my religion's holy books, the Book of Mormon. I actually had flashcards of absolutely every name in the Book of Mormon, and I was halfway through memorizing it, and I had my faith crisis later that year, and I'm never gonna finish that.
Sheesh, Kendall.
Wow.
I'm tired.
You're really driven, Kendall.
Yeah. We can stop this. We're halfway through. Let's go to someone else. We'll
do a whole show on Kendall's goals someday.
Sure.
Well, it's a little intimidating because
we can make more and more people feel bad about their pitiful, worthless lives.
Oh, come on. I haven't done even half my goals.
Kendall, my goal in life before I die, I want to make an entire cake, vanilla, and eat the batter without baking it. That's it. And then you've got an encyclopedia list of all these intellectual amazing things, and you've done a lot of them. That's what's absolutely mind-boggling.
I wrote one goal down, and I've kept to it. and it's like, don't write any other goals. And
Oh, there you go. See, you have a higher accomplishment rate than I do.
yes, I have a 1,000% accomplishment rate.
You're very committed, Gene.
Yes. I didn't mean that in a negative way, Kendall. That I
Oh
was
no, I
tired.
didn't take it that way.
No,
but
okay.
it is kind of there reaches a point where it's like it's awkward for me, but
Well, no,
it inspires me, this list.
Yeah.
But you know,
I
there's
was
guilt by
connecting to,
association. Maybe there's education by association. Because we all know Kendall, it's as if we had read all those books.
Mm-hmm. There's a hardcore literature book club. We're reading all these things. The book that we're starting now is Chaucer, the Canterbury Tales.
Oh,
But we had to do 100 Years of Solitude, which I found to be tiring. We had to do Madame Bovary. I cannot stand it. So this is the third one. I'm hoping this is going to get better for me. I'm a voracious reader, and I thought, well, it's about time I start going after some of these classics. But anyway, I was connecting, Kendall, with some of the stuff that you have on there. I was reminded of the work of Dr. Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
yeah.
My school embraced the 7 Habits early on, about 15 years ago. And the application for kids, the application for a school is called The Leader in Me. And I'm actually a facilitator. I can train in the 7 Habits. And so a lot of that stuff, especially starting
Begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, putting the mission statement down, and then
Kim, are
having
you on Facebook?
I am.
Are we connected yet?
Not yet, but we can be.
So
Let's
send
get
me
connected.
a Facebook request, and I'd like to do a show on the 7 Habits of Success. You can do a presentation.
Oh my
How
God.
about that?
Oh gosh, I would love to do that.
How do we find you on Facebook?
It's I guess I don't need to be. My name is Kimberly with an I. K-I-E-R-L-I. My father that. And my last name is Lengning, Leng. And
Leng what?
it's
Keep
Kimberly
breaking up.
Lengning.
Kimberly what?
Oh, am I?
Leng what?
Lengning, Lenning. I can put it in the chat. Lengning.
Kimberly.
That's me.
I can't send you a request.
Why?
Oh yeah. So Kimberly, you're going to have to send me and Tim requests.
Okay, so it's with Gene Judson.
Yeah, there's only one Gene Judson, and there's
okay, and I can find Tim.
Yeah, my name's easy to find because there's only one spelling with all these E's in my name.
Yeah. No.
There's a few Gene Judsons, but somehow
I figure, I'll find you. Okay. Yeah, because I post about every third day. I share hikes, and I try to post very positive. I stay completely away from politics. I don't want to, it's too stressful. But I will talk about, being positive and being a good human.
That's right.
And the importance of education, the purpose of education, to become critical thinkers, to become problem solvers. I can go off on, just get up on my soapbox about talking about the importance of reading with children. And
very important.
You don't need a lot of money in order to get have a successfully educated child. You simply don't. It's a matter of talking to your children in full sentences, giving them experiences, and reading aloud to them from the time they're babies.
And having
Yep.
them join a union when they're about 9 years old. That way they can take care of you. in your
Have you
old
heard of
age.
the book Raising Critical Thinkers by Julie Bogart?
I have not, but it sounds like something I would have in my library.
It was life changing. It gives like activities to do at every
Mhm.
age group of like how to teach kids critical thinking and
In
rejecting.
fact, I think Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime.
Was
Uh-oh.
having
That was
Megan
weird.
for a second.
Oh,
Oh,
songs needs to be on here because songs, is relating to all of this.
I think songs should hop on.
But yeah, education in a democracy. I must go
Songs
back
is
to
awesome.
John Dewey, 1916, wrote Democracy in Education, and it's so applicable to today. It's simply you are
And that's
teaching
John Dewey, the Dewey Decimal System.
different one.
Oh, darn it.
Thomas Dewey did that, but no,
Okay.
John. Yeah, he was. He came from a framework of democracy, but his counterpart, Paulo Freire, was in Brazil and doing the same thing, but from a kind of a Marxist perspective.
oh, wow.
Yeah, education for critical consciousness. But he talked about basically because he was teaching illiterate farmers to read, he was exiled.
Wow.
And that happened in this country as well. Miles Horton started the Highlander School, teaching illiterate miners in Virginia and the areas where there's coal mining, teaching them how to read. Rosa Parks was one of his students,
No
and he was arrested. And
Wow.
treated poorly simply because he was trying to give a voice to people who don't have voice and
Oh,
choice. It doesn't cost us anything to level the playing field. But for some reason, it's like Covey says, we come at it from a perspective of scarcity instead of a perspective of abundance. There's plenty for everybody.
that's
Especially
true.
if everybody's contributing, if there's positivity, love, contribution, value, you have these things, you will have abundance. Whereas if you come from a perspective of scarcity, it's, well, if I let these poor people in, if I let these poor people read, if I give these poor people power, if we empower the disenfranchised, then there's less for me.
It's not a zero-sum game.
Exactly. It's again,
The rising tide lifts all ships.
right. Covey would say 1 + 1 = 3. The value of the whole, becomes richer when you have, more people at the table. So
I'm
I
trying to
could go
convince
on.
the major
The-
podcasters to collaborate more and let people share on their channels, but a lot of the big players think that it'll detract from their Facebook pages to have other people post on it. And I can imagine it for if somebody's posting, Rolex watch ads or something like that.
Yeah.
But if somebody's posting content of an interesting interview, I don't see how it hurts them that much. But anyway.
No, the conversation, where's the dialogue? I had a mentor professor. I went back to college at 29, so I think it was Hallie Cram in the chat was saying that she got a degree in Mrs. and never went to school. I went back to school at 29, and I told oh my gosh, I'm going to be 35 before I get a teaching credential. Well, I'd rather turn 35 and have my degree and have a teaching credential than turn 35 and not have it. So I don't think it's ever too late. Kendall, you need to get that PhD because you can enrich your contributions will be that much richer because you would be taken that much more serious when you have that doctorate.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because-
well, if someone wants to guide me, I'm very interested in psychology, human psyche, thinking, communication. I just need the right program that would fit with my schedule. So if you know anyone that can recommend some programs, I want to do it.
You have to find, first of all, what is your research going to be? What do you,
Well,
because what you have to contribute something unique to the field.
To the
So,
body.
to
do you
the
have a
body of knowledge. And it can be a tweak on something that's already there, but like, what is your, you have to ruminate. You like to ruminate on what is your passion?
yeah, exactly. What's
What
your
is the thing
passion?
that you want to learn more about and that you can put into is something like a book form. Your thesis would be your book form, your dissertation.
Yeah, I want to do like the stages of the faith crisis. In fact, I've already made something where
Oh, no.
I go through like the Mormon iceberg of the various stages. I don't know if you can see that. But
Yeah.
I think most people fall into this where it's like at first they think, oh yay, everything's like super good, superficially happy, and then they're still happy, but they're willfully ignorant of the facts. Then they become aware of the facts, but they're not bothered. Then they're bothered by the facts, and then finally the facts get so heavy that their shelf breaks, and then they go through this. Like for me, it was about a 5-month period where it's like, okay, I know the church is not true, but I'm still going to ignore the bad things because it's the only way I know how to live. It might be the best way to live. And then the final stage is like anger.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on your Facebook page, Kendall?
That's
No,
awesome.
never
I want to
seen
do a
that.
whole episode about it. So if someone
Okay,
wants to have me on, I'll explain it.
let's do that. Let's do that.
I think that would be a great PhD topic, to dive down that. And you have a community, a family, a community out here of like-minded people who you bounce ideas, have discussions, those conversations, the dialogue.
Did you put that together, Kendall? Excuse me.
I did.
Did you?
I
You did.
couldn't sleep one night, and I was like, I'm going to make my own Mormon iceberg, but it turned into the stages of a faith crisis.
I love it.
That's
awesome. I think people would really like to see that.
Yes. Because every day more and more people are leaving.
You are articulating what people are already thinking and what people have experienced.
Yes, one of the most validating experiences you can have as a human being is someone else putting to words an experience that you had but couldn't articulate.
Well,
it's like when Anderson's talk, right after Anderson gave his talk, I looked on Reddit and all these people were so pissed. It's like 20 or 30 people talked about it. And I was going, oh man, that must have really been atrocious.
That's the opposite of validating.
Exactly. Well, it's a validation, but
do you know what's so interesting? I talked to 2 true believers about that talk, and I said, like, can you see how someone else, maybe not you, would be offended by that talk or think that it would be destructive or negative? And like neither of them could think of any reason. But then when I phrased it as far as like, can you see how it implies that a wife has to take on the mistakes of her husband and his mistress, and that's not healthy boundaries? Can you at least acknowledge that? And then when I framed it in that way, then it was like, oh, I didn't even see it that way.
Well, good for you. You've got 2 people doing a little bit more
thinking.
I had a similar chart, but I just used the iceberg head of lettuce, and it just didn't go anywhere. It wasn't as good.
I'm
just
sorry.
made me hungry for dinner.
Lettuce. That's not real lettuce.
But yeah, Kendall, Randy and I will interview you soon and talk about it if you want.
Well, we should do a show on it. We should do
it'll be a good show. I guarantee it. I put a ton of thought into it.
I really like
obviously.
that.
Obviously.
Because not everybody's just
this
the
was
same,
early on
though.
in my faith crisis, but I wanted like a scale to like judge whether a person's reasoning was good or not. So I made this scale of like if your reason is a good reason or not. because I was so sick and tired of all these
Oh,
apologists giving a
Kendall.
reason and being
Jeez.
like, I believe because of this, and then me pointing out like, look, that is not a good reason. Like, that's barely plausible. Like, here's a like justifiable methodology, epistemology to do it. Anyway, it's complicated, but like anything that you argue about, you can look at this chart and be like, where does this reason fit on this chart? And it goes from green, that's like your reasoning is good, it's solid, it's credible or likely, and then it goes all the way down to like exceptionally unlikely or absurd.
See, right there, you've got the basis of, higher education right there. You've got the basis of a PhD right there. That quality of work that that you just shared with us is phenomenal. And you may not see, it's just something I made, but really,
Kendall knows he's brilliant.
Yeah, but
You know
that's
it.
and
We
don't
think you're
hide
brilliant.
what do they say? Don't hide your light under a bushel.
Well, here's the thing. I've had these things all my life, but in my social milieu, I was shamed for these things. This is the first time in my life where people have given me positive feedback for stuff like this. Every time I would do stuff like this before, people would be like, that's complicated. You're exhausting. You make people feel uncomfortable. Like, I've gotten this my whole life. So this is brand new to me. I love you people.
Satan is
Oh,
influencing you, is what they would say.
Yeah.
You're in the right place at the right time, Kendall. Okay. You're with
exactly.
the misfit toys.
And
And
being in Tim's living room
Which-
is almost like visiting another country. So that could be one of your 100 countries.
That's right. I really, really like that because that'll help people. I mean, Alyssa wrote her book, Grenfell, right? But that you have just visualized.
Alyssa
what she
Grenfell
wrote.
is the middle school version of How to Leave the Mormon Church, and Kendall's is the
The
graduate
PhD.
degree
There you go.
or high school or
Okay, but
college.
here's my idea. I want to do this episode actually twice, and the first time we need a true believer, someone who isn't like, black and white, like, the people that can spin anything, but like someone who is like mature and can acknowledge when someone else makes another point.
So you
And I
mean
just want
not
to ask
like
them,
Jacob Hansen, but more like Jim Bennett?
yes, precisely, yes. And I want to
Or
go
that-
through this list and be like, okay, in level 1, is anything standing out to you? Like, are you aware of all these things? How about level 2? How about level 3, where it starts to get bothersome? Have you heard of the Kinderhook plates? Do you have any awareness whatsoever of the BYU honor code scandals? Like, just ask them, are you aware that this is a thing? Yes or no? I think that by itself would be extremely illuminating.
Didn't John Berlin have someone on recently that people were impressed
Yeah,
with?
Kara's friend 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what inspired me. I want to do the same thing, but are you aware of how deep the Mormon Church goes as far as the things that, even if you disagree, that other people say this is why the church is not true? Are you aware of these things? My theory is, because it applied to me, I had a superficial awareness of some things, but I knew almost zero details of the things.
Do you go all the way down to the ritual sex abuse and the virgin sacrifice in the temples?
Yep.
See, I'm still trying to figure out mine because it wasn't like anybody else's.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. These are the most salient for me, and everyone has different things that bother them. But I think I cast a wide enough net where I get the main things.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Tim, you've had quite the experience.
I have.
You went through hell. And you've emerged on the other end. So your experience obviously is going to be different. But same with Randy, his experience is going to be different. It's where did everybody start, and how long were you in?
Well, it started with wondering where the primary source documents were. That's one of the things that started it. Was when I read the history of the church. This is, well, where's the document?
Yeah.
You know, and then I got to see them, and I was like, oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
Kim, we'll find out more about your story. But for
Okay.
me, you know, what's interesting about the like the iceberg thing. I
Mhm.
wasn't angry at the church that much at first. I was more like in a marvelous like wow, that is so interesting. You know that I I've been doing things based on a lie or however I would frame it, and it's more like I was a student of history or whatever, just saying we're living in history now. This is a historic time where the internet is going to help people find the truth. And then what I was really angry at is people who are still in the church that didn't want to hear about anything. That's when I
Right.
got angry.
Oh, they just won't. They won't absorb it. They won't hear it. They won't listen to it.
Yep, I remember the thing when I was in the stage of like, okay, the church is not true, but maybe it's the best way to live your life. That ended with the SEC announcement of the $5 million fine. I mean, that scandal was just so bad. But I remember talking to members, and they would not listen. They would just be like, "Oh, they filed some papers wrong. Like, big deal."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
trying to tell someone that, like when you were in college and you were in love with someone, and your father says, "You don't love them. That's not the right person for you." Like you're going to say, "Oh, okay, you're right." No, you know what you feel in your heart,
Mhm.
and so I can't come down too hard on these members, but it frustrates me, like you said, Kendall. It frustrates me that I can't. Nothing will permeate into their brains about facts. You know,
Well, when my
uh,
neighbors said, I'll depend on the leaders of the church and what they say about it. And I said, why don't you think for yourself about these things?
Right.
Well, I don't have time to think about it. It's like, excuse me, why don't you look into this?
Yeah.
So
It's
thanks,
like
Kendall, for sharing with us
mhm.
all the dreams that we
We,
should have had when we were your age.
maybe we could do 2 or 3, maybe a month's worth of episodes just on that. I
Mhm.
really am digging this.
Sure, I would love to talk
I
about it.
really am
It's
digging
important
this.
to me, but I don't know how much interest there is out there. But it sure means a lot to
There's
me.
a lot of interest because look at, if people are as pissed off about that talk and wanting to leave, as is indicated by what I saw on Reddit, there's going to be people looking for more, and they need a guidepost. They need a map on how to get out. Maybe they don't know how to get out. I mean, they may know, but they don't know how to leave it, how to
Mhm.
separate themselves out.
Yeah, so in my sociology degree, we learned 2 words: stocks of knowledge and heuristics. Like our brain, one of the most difficult things for a human to do is to do something it's not done before. And that's why
Correct.
we have generation upon generation that lives in poverty. Why? Because the only examples that they've seen, the only heuristic that is stuck in their brain is what their parents gave them.
Right.
And
Yep.
so when you do something for the first time, it's incredibly difficult, it's incredibly intimidating, and we don't get very far. And that's actually true for me. Like the first 4 months of my faith crisis, like I was having existential dread, waking up with cold sweats, and then finally I found Thrive, some support, and my life kind of got back to a normal place again. But like it's so hard when it's new because your brain
Yeah.
wants to reject new and different. It likes simple and familiar.
Mhm.
and when you
Exactly.
think you're the only one, that's what
Yes.
that was the biggest relief to me ever, was to stumble upon John DeLynne's podcast and realize, wait, there's other people. And then, like you said, Kinder, that you start, these podcasts are proliferating and you're starting to see more and more of them. And it's pretty soon there's this entire community, which is
Exactly.
now my community. But what a relief. It's no longer difficult, but it sure was when I thought I was alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of buried a lot of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
anger,
So-
the unhappiness, the dissonance. I buried a lot of the shame and all of that, and didn't really talk about it or think about it because I didn't want to. And then
That's right.
being exposed to these podcasts, various, and listening to other people's stories, it started resonating like, oh yeah, that was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, can
So-
we do a lawsuit to get our time back?
That'd be a good
Oh
one.
God.
Can I get back all the hours and hours and hours of time spent on
All the early
stupid
mornings
things?
that I would put up flags, and all the times that I would clean the church, and there's so much time that was wasted. Actually, the biggest time waster was the temple. I mean, talk about vain repetition.
I
Well, I
get
got-
Let's see,
nothing
but
from it.
I love the temple. I loved going to the temple. I liked doing that.
You like the
I-
blood oaths. That's what you like.
No, I enjoyed the ceremony because, well, it's the hero's journey, and
Yeah, okay. Agreed.
Yeah.
you know.
Plus, when Tim first went through, they had the cinnamon whiskey washings.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway,
That's right.
so
I mean,
we got to bounce because if I go too long, then YouTube gets upset. I and also StreamYard. I can do less and less, fewer things with the
Yeah, no worries.
with the shorts that get
we.
developed. So anyhow, and we
I
got
want you
some
to come up
shows.
with a plan, Kendall.
Yeah, so-
Let's come up with a lesson plan and how we're going to do this.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah,
we'll
we're gonna do
talk
it
in the
here.
after show. We'll talk in the
Yeah,
after show
I do all
more.
coordination
Yeah.
over writing, so I'll give you my email in the chat here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
and
wait.
We can say goodbye to everybody, and we can still stay
Yeah.
and chat some more
Okay.
in the after show. And if somebody wants to join in the after show and say hi, we can also say hi there. But thanks
Yeah.
for watching.
Thank
Have
you.
a happy rest of 2025.
Have
and
a
we'll
good
see
week,
you
guys.
next week in Tim's living room, and clean up
Yeah.
after yourself.
Happy Tuesday.